Sasha, you said that your dream life would be as a rock star.
Yeah,
Is this still true for you?
I think so. Yeah. I think that I think as we grow up and we continue to gather dreams, if we're a dreamer, there's always new life that comes into our vision of what we can do or what we can be. But that's always been like a through line for me. Like whatever I'm applying myself to, I'm going to do it like a rock star. And I always have that energy in me. It's like just this like, let's go. And it's like a great, like, it's kind of like a leadership energy now is how I like integrated it. And that's how I coach my clients. That's how I speak with other creatives. And so I've tried to integrate that identity, but part of my own art practice as an artist is now, it's been poetry for the longest time and self-published poetry books. And I'm realizing that I'm just writing lyrics and I really am just trying to write to music. So I've actually started a band recently up in San Francisco. And I'm, for the first time, kind of allowing myself to play in that dream. And I think that I'm allowing myself at this stage of my maturity where I can like hold it. Does that make sense?
It is. Are you the front woman for the band?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Great. So right, and there's an ownership in being the front woman or man of any rock band.
Totally. Right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of, to me, it's kind of like, I'm seeing it more like a Fiona Apple type of like image, right? Like just having my music brought to life by excellent musicians who have a scope of sound beyond my own training. I'm not trained in music. I am trained in guitar, actually. I play guitar and sing, but I'm not professionally trained, or I didn't go to music school. So finding the people who can really bring that sound into completion and bring it fuller is something I need. And that's what a band is for me.
You said jokingly that you would love for your life to be sort of similar to a mid-2000s movie. What is it about the mid-2000s?
Everything's a montage. No. No. Yeah, maybe. Oh, the mid-2000s. Wasn't it the 90s and early to mid-2000s, like the time in media and in art and in like, I'm just speaking to like American audiences, of course. That's what I can speak to. But wasn't that just like the time when everything was really good? In fact, when you go back and watch movies made in those times, they really hold up. They're not 3 hours long. I don't need a 3-hour movie. Like, who needs that? Some people love that, and I respect that. But you can get it done in an hour and a half seamlessly. And there was just more of a craft to everything that you could see. I mean, even a lot of things were handmade. It was prior to our really advanced developments in technology. It looks organic and timeless, and it sounds less electronic. And I love house and EDM and electronic music. Like, I'm able to progress with art, but a big part of me lives in what seems and feels a little more analog, and what seems and feels like you can feel the people who made it, like you could feel their touch in their art. That's pretty important to me. I think that's what I meant by that, saying that.
And you love the movie Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah.
And what is it about this film? I think you said in a prior interview that you almost felt shame over liking it, but now you're okay to admit.
Oh yeah, like when I was in high school and I was trying to fit in and I was like listening to the soundtrack every day, but I have no shame. Like I can like stand on the highest mountain and be like, this is a great movie. It's a satire. It's so tongue-in-cheek. It's clever. Like every line in it is poking fun at the industry, it's like so meta. There's layers to it, I think, and that's why it's so entertaining for me, because there's one layer that it's just like a pop movie about a pop band, and there's another layer to it where it's a commentary on the music industry, and it's a commentary on executives in the industry, and there's so many layers to it, and you can kind of choose your own adventure when you watch it. It's not meant for just one audience, and the music in it is so fun. It's like the early stages of pop punk. I love that genre. It's female forward, it's rock and roll. And it's these three women who believe in their music and they believe in their band. And, the ultimate arc of that story is they just come back to themselves. Like any hero's journey that you see, right? They just come back to themselves at the end and they like reclaim their voice. And that message, I think, will never die. And that will always light me up. I'm like, yes, come home to yourself.
Why would an artist need a coach?
I think every person, but especially in artistry, where you're trying to express something, to connect with an audience, it comes from a deep knowing and understanding of yourself and your voice. And it comes from a foundation of what you value, what you love, and what you trust. I think that when we connect to art, whatever form that is in, we're connecting to the expression of that. Whether it's in a painting or we're at a rock show or even in a movie. And when you partner with a coach, a really excellent coach, someone who is really guiding you towards your answers, not someone who's giving you the answers or telling you what path to walk. Someone who's bringing you within and helping you build that strong internal foundation, you take that everywhere you go. And especially on the creative path, there is no one path. The creative path is the process of us consistently and continually finding ourselves and integrating that into who we are and how we want to express that. I think artists I don't think they just have the option to. I believe that every artist needs to, at some point, find the kind of partnership, whether it's through coaching or otherwise, that brings them back into themselves, back grounding to their purpose of what am I here to do? Because they're gifted. We're gifted with the ability to create, or the vision that we have for a creation or a piece of art, a piece of work. And to almost have the skill to clear that channel and move almost your humanness out of the way to let that message come through you is essential. And I think in a really healthy coaching partnership, we can create that space. And that's really what I mean when I say coming home to yourself, is creating that space and having that clearing to be able to access what that message is, what that gift is, to express it.
What if someone has too much pride to seek out a coach?
That's real. That's just the path they're on. I've, in the beginning of my coaching career, have tried to work with people or tried to meet with people who kind of, you might describe them as having, being prideful and not thinking they need the help, or even categorizing or thinking of coaching as kind of something where, in a more negative light, like, oh, people who are really struggling or really need help, like maybe it's a weakness that you need to partner with a coach. That's actually quite a common thought. I think still coaching has been around for a long time, but I think it still has a confusing reputation to many people in the mainstream. But if people have too much pride to partner with a coach, this is not their journey right now. And that's okay too. In fact, before coaching, I came from working with some A-level celebrities, and I worked in the industry for years. And I faced a lot of that when I started to talk about the training I was doing and the career path I was starting to step on. And it took me a while to get out of my own way and my own pride and integrate the fact that I am a trained coach, just for those same reasons of like, what are people going to think and what do I think of this? But in reality, I so believe in the work I do and in the result that I see my clients move through and how I myself have moved through my art and my creative process, that has just become so much more important than any type of sense of ego pride that I need to hold on to. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with ego. We need it to survive. Like, we need it to navigate as social beings. So I'm not like bashing ego, but at the end of the day, we can't live in our ego. It's a tool more than it is an identity.
What if someone has too much shame to seek out a coach? Maybe there's things in their past they're embarrassed about, or family conditioning. You don't need to go to someone. You don't need to talk about things.
Oftentimes, our shame eats us alive. And our shame we all live in it. It lives in thoughts or sentences like, oh, I should do that, or I should, the shoulds, when we should on each other. And in my experience with people who hold a lot of that, who are holding on to a lot of those stories and a lot of that shame, sometimes it's a different healing modality that they need to step into before they're ready to work with a coach. Because coaching is really different from other types of healing. For example, therapy. This is a question I get a lot. How is coaching different from therapy? Well, the result of therapy is insight, whereas the result of coaching is always action. And we're not asking the question why in coaching. Why is irrelevant in this space? And it happened because it happened. And I'm sure there's a story attached to it, and I'm sure it's true. It probably happened to you. Yet, what's more important in this space of coaching is, what is it that I'm doing or seeing, or what are my patterns, and what do I want to do about it? Specifically in conjunction to, where do I want to be? And when we ask what, it becomes a much more interesting question. And I'm not to say why is not good, worth you to explore. Back to your question, when we are carrying a lot of shame, the why is the important question. We have to develop a sense of awareness around ourselves and an internal processing system. And that's better done through therapy or other healing modalities, whether it's breath work or yoga or, choose your adventure. And I've dabbled in a lot. But coaching is really for people who are at a developed level of awareness where they're aware enough that whatever story it is they're carrying or holding on to is less relevant and important than the vision that they have and they want to move toward. That's the point where you meet a coach.
What is it about you that makes you want to be a coach?
What is it about me that makes me want to be a coach? There's an art to connecting with people. There's an art to this process, to finding and establishing your creative process. There's an art to the intention that comes with it, and I'm addicted to that art, simply put. When I worked for high-level composers, who I mentioned earlier, I saw how I served a specific A-list composer, and I was his personal assistant and by his side, and got to observe how he was with music, and at times he was music. When I talk about artists are a channel for their work, he was like a human sacrifice for his music at times, for it to flow through him. And he is exquisite at what he does, and it was incredibly inspiring. And I think I saw that, and I was able to connect to him in that way, not because I'm a musician in the same way, but because I feel like I am gifted in a way to connect with people, and to find a channel for that and a way to express that and to make a contribution with that is the job, is my work, is what I need to do to connect. And so, just seeing that person be it so excellently and so high level, and I just mean he's been doing it his whole life, I realize I've been doing this my whole life. I have always been this way. I've always been ready to connect. I have always been the person my friends will come to, my family will come to, not so much for advice, that too, but also just a safe place to be, and to be authentic in who they are with me. And that is something I value so highly. So to channel that and hone it into a craft, into a skill set, is the gift of finding coaching and finding this type of format. And it may evolve. It's already been evolving as I've been walking this path. It might be a different job title. It might be applied a different way. But to be on the path of honing that gift and craft is essential to take those first few steps.
Why do you specifically coach artists and other creatives?
Because I am obsessed with them. Because I am one, and my mom was an artist, and my dad is a high-level creative. He's a financial strategist, and I've never seen anyone more creative. It really has nothing to do with the job, if you know what I'm saying. It's a type of person that I'm drawn to, and that I am, and that I think we all are intrinsically creative. This is the human condition. Some of us are more called to express that on a professional level or as a lifestyle. And I'm really drawn to it, and I'm drawn to working with artists and creatives because I'm drawn to the unknown, the mystery of life, changing things up. We never know. There's no such thing. Life is not linear. Our brain wants to think in a linear way. It's so comforting to be linear. It's how we're wired, and it's so not what's real. Life is more, if we're to use a shape, cyclical. Everything circles back. Everything comes back at a deeper level in a different way with different meaning. And so to follow along that story with the artists that I get to meet, and to be kind of part of their journey and for a part of their path, you know what I'm saying? To be on their team for a part of that process for them. It's like an addiction. It's an addiction to the process. I've learned so much about myself and my own creative application through the conversations I've had with my clients.
Yeah, I've heard even, because you can apply really creativity to so many jobs that you wouldn't think are, quote, creative. And when you talked about money and finance, I've heard people saying about, certain patterns of a stock, the way they rise and fall.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if it's called like the Fibonacci sequence or something.
Yeah.
And that there's like a pattern and a rhythm and a beauty to it.
Yeah.
That you would never, to me, I would be like, okay, I don't really understand it, but.
Yeah, maybe you don't understand the stock rhythm, but you understand the rhythm in the way that you see it. It's like that scene from American Beauty where the plastic bag is flying in the wind, and it's like, have you ever seen anything more beautiful? And to some people that's hilarious, and they're like, what a dumb movie. And to some people they're crying, and they're like, I see the beauty. It's like, isn't that so cool? Like, but that plastic bag is the same as the stock market for someone, and it's the same as a well-written song for someone. That's just what it is. And to see that through other people's perspectives, that's what I say I'm addicted to. To see it that's one of my coaching questions is, people bring in metaphors. We all speak in metaphors all the time. And part of what I do with my clients and behind the scenes info here is to dismantle these metaphors. What are you actually talking about? What are you seeing? Or what are we not seeing? And so when we get to strip away the metaphor and really hear what their voice of wisdom is saying, I mean, that's like some pure energy right there. That's something very pure and very special. And that's what makes them the artists that they are. A lot of people come to me and are like, well, yeah, but rationalizing. No, there's a billion singers in the world. What makes me any different? Why should I pursue this art? It's like, there are not a billion yous. Let's get you to that core.
What are some of the metaphors? Like, do you hear certain ones that you can tell are blocks and others that are freeing?
Yeah, some of the metaphors, and this will probably be familiar to you as well, and I say this all the time, we'll just be like, part of me didn't want to call her back, but the other part of me thought, we are not parts of self. We are one whole being. We are one whole unit. And that's such an interesting metaphor that I'm really deepening right now in my practice, because when we speak about parts of ourself, that's a lot of information. There's a lot of information that we do, and that's kind of the first step of my process with people, is to bring all our parts together, because we need to have the whole team on deck. The whole team meaning all parts of ourselves. And when I say that's a lot of information, it's like so often we want to block parts that are speaking to us, or we want to not hear those things, and it may be too painful to hear what they're serving up. But the more we are able to assert our focus and attention to what it is coming up for us and actually integrate that, there's a process to that, the more whole we will start to feel and move forward in our life or our craft or whatever it is with a sense of wholeness and belonging. It's an internal job, but it really helps to have someone hear that and go, wait a minute, well, what do you mean by part of you? And let's dismantle that. What is it saying? Without shame or judgment. Let's observe what's coming up for you. Observation means without judgment. To look at it. And that's when it starts to become interesting. Because we're no longer interested in like, this is a bad part of me, this is good, whatever. What does that even mean? We're more interested in what is coming up that I need to focus on and potentially integrate into my practice.
When you work with a new client, what are some of the areas that you are beginning to explore?
Like I was just saying, integration is the most important piece to kind of, bring parts of this ship, let's say, here's a metaphor, right, together. So the most important thing is to help a client understand the experience they're having, which is the human experience we're all having. Meaning, we have a brain. We are not our brain. We are that which has one. And we are able to be in control of how it works for us. Meaning, our brain is a beautifully designed organ that keeps us alive, is one of its main functions. And how it does that is it starts firing off messages to us from our monkey mind, our animal brain, our amygdala, for safety. And more often than not, those messages will get in the way of us doing something new, extraordinary, and full of value, what we hold value to. Because it's scanning for risk. Our brain scans the room for risk, right? It's called a negativity bias in psychology. And when there is an unknown, our brain will read that as risk. Especially when what we're trying to work towards or get to is something we hold to a high value, aka our dream or our vision. We have that we attach value to. It has meaning and purpose to us, and we have to find a way to express that. And so inherently on the road of here I am right now and here's what I want to do, that gap in between is a huge unknown risk. And our brain will work in overtime to stop us from taking that road. Not because it's trying to sabotage us. This is why another metaphor is self-sabotage. Like, what does that even mean? It's not trying to, it's doing its job. It's doing its job well. But we get to detach from those thoughts that are telling us risk and actually observe and evaluate what it's saying and choose. We have a choice. We always have a choice. When we're choosing to move toward our vision, that's when we are demonstrating resilience, when we are really on our hero's path, which, and I know that's such a popular thought, and it's part of what coaching is, keeping you on your hero's journey, meaning regardless of the inherent risk that comes with going for your dream, you're going to do it anyway. And regardless of the fear that will come up, because that will come up, and the discomfort that comes from growth, this is personal growth, we're going to do it anyway. Because there is no other choice. The other choice is to stay stuck or to stand still or to let the dream die. And so when you're faced with that choice, which is the more interesting avenue to walk down, it's going to be your hero's journey. So when I start to work with new clients, I bring a lot of that information in to help people see in a bigger picture scope what the human experience is, and that it's okay that we're human, and that it doesn't mean we're getting in our own way or sabotaging ourselves. It means that there's areas that we can focus on to give us a clear path forward.
So let's say I reach out to you and I say, I'm a fine artist. I have a day job in accounting, but I really want to, show my work in galleries. I have a lot of, let's say, family conditioning that says you can't make money as an artist. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling like very held back by my own thoughts about that as well. How would you begin to work with me? I realize I'm just throwing out this hypothetical, but
that's a really great hypothetical. I literally am working with a fine art client with the same stories.
Oh, wow.
We start to examine, it's amazing.
Okay.
We start to examine the stories. We want to see, again, back to observation, like what is this part saying? What is it saying? And is that true? Asking ourselves at the core of that fear, once we've gotten to the root of what that fear is, if it's true or not about us, is the surrender moment. We have to get to that moment before we're able to move forward down a different path. And getting to that surrender moment requires a dismantling of the story that we came in with, whatever that is. You can't make money off your art. Is that true?
Not for everyone, obviously.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And to challenge it a little bit, not yourself. The way that this monkey mind function works, the way that it works so exquisitely is it takes information, which I call evidence, and it makes it mean something about us. We identify with our monkey mind. Here's an example. Only 20 people came to my first performance. Maybe I'm not meant to be a musician. It takes evidence and makes it mean something about us. This is a real case I worked on with a client. When we told the truth, we started to see, because they were so nervous, it was their first performance, it's a huge dream they have, they didn't tell their friends about it. They didn't market it. They didn't email the venue and ask them to send an email blast. They were stuck behind fear, and they didn't take that step. So the turnout wasn't what it might have been. So instead of it meaning I shouldn't be a musician, what it means is, oh, there's still work to do on my path. There's so much for me to do. That's great. I'm so clear on what that next step is. They played a show a month and a half later, and all they did, because it was still a big fear for them, so their small step was to just email their friends, and their friends brought their friends and their roommates, and there were so many more people at this show just by one small step. And suddenly they started to see they made that possible. The power's in your hands. So to dismantle from that monkey mind story and get to the core of it and ask if it's true is the process of telling the truth. And it's not about you. That's what the ego is the monkey mind it wants to hold on to. It's not about you at all. It's just your brain trying to keep you safe. It's just doing what it does.
So if I'm that same fine artist and I say, you know what, Sasha, I'm about to get a promotion and it could really change my life, but part of me, and there's the word part of me that we were talking about, the metaphor, realizes like this is a silly dream wanting to do this art thing. Like I should just do it as a hobby. But part of me just doesn't feel satisfied at this job.
That's a great question. Well, life is not black and white. This is not an either or disjunction that they're at, even though it seems that way. But why not take the promotion or negotiate the terms of that promotion so you still have time to make your art, whatever it is that you need? And why not continue to explore what it might be like to be placed in a gallery or court an agent while you're safe and happy and secure in the job that you know? Why not both until there comes another junction on your path where another decision is in front of you? But life is not black and white. We don't need to choose either or. We do need to feel safe and supported, especially as artists, and to be enabled to explore the path of artistry. So if that means taking a promotion and negotiating the terms of that, and that gives you the freedom and the platform to continue exploring your potential career as a fine art painter, then that's the choice that you made right now. And you're absolutely able to make that choice.
What's the structure of your coaching sessions?
We'll start by setting our intentions and what I call getting into our coaching arena. So it's a quick little walkthrough that I walk my clients through, so we're centered with each other in the conversation. And then each session, the client is required to bring in what it is they want to be coached on for each session, in terms of the scope of what we're working toward, their vision. It could be anything. But the point is, we coach on one specific topic. And the reason we do that is to really focus the brain and focus ourselves in on the specific set of outcomes, actions that we want the client to take. And whatever that specific topic is in that the client brings in, kind of the process and the practice that they're going to be in with that topic bleeds into everything that they're going to do. It's, again, we are one whole being. We're one holistic person. When we learn a process applied towards one outcome, we can utilize and use that process in every area of our life that holds meaning. So I require a client to bring in a specific topic. If they're not clear on that, then we'll start the session by getting clear on it, what it is they would like to produce, where they want to gain more clarity or design some actions towards for that session. And then we start to go through a little bit of what we talked about already, the process of dismantling old belief systems, or we're going to look at what really is getting in the way or challenging them from going for it authentically.
What if I come to you and I want to be a, quote, multi-hyphenate? Well, I want to do a children's book, I want to be a screenwriter, and I probably want to do some TV and things like that. And I'm sort of all over the place. Mm-hmm. What would be this one thing that I'm coming to you about? Is that more about my writing in general or getting closer to this? I mean, what if you see someone that's just kind of like all over the map? How do you bring them back to that one intention?
Really great question. For people who consider themselves multi-potentialite or master of many things, Renaissance people, right? Like I always think of Steve Martin because he's an amazing ukulele player, comedian, right? He's a actor, he's an author, and I really believe we can do it all. But there's a process to doing it all, right? And it takes prioritizing, and it takes focus and clarity. It takes skills to be able to do it all, but we absolutely can. So if a client comes to me with many ideas or talents in their wheelhouse, I want to know what the vision is that they are holding for themselves. Where do they see themselves bringing their talents, or what is it that would they love to be doing? Even for now, not for the rest of their lives. Where would you like to take this? And then we just start to prioritize. And we look at what are you currently working on, or what is something that's current or contemporary of interest for you. Because really, it doesn't matter where we start, it matters that we get started. I mean, trust me, the starting point is the hardest part for everybody, just to get started. So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at priorities or looking at what's current for them. We're going to create that space for them to see that. But it's really, really important that we get started on one of those ideas. And more typically, I work with a lot of multi-potentialites. What typically happens through longer-term coaching process with me is my artist will start to find their way home towards what it is they want to be doing in a more full-time capacity. And these other areas or interests don't fall aside, but they find their place in their life where it really fits into their flow and their process. Because what we're coaching them on and what we're training them on is to be in complete alignment with their creative process. And that is something that you can apply to everything. So perhaps they have a vision of being a multi-potentialite artist, but they also really want to support themselves financially with their art, and they want to have a high-level lifestyle and be able to own a car and a home, whatever that looks like. We're going to start walking a path that's going to bring them towards where most of their values are housed, and see what emerges from that.
How frequent are your coaching sessions? If I were to sign up as this fine artist or screenwriter, where do you usually start people out, or it's based on their need?
I have two structures I work in most of the time, but all of my coaching is bespoke to what the client needs. But the two structures they can fit in most of the time are meeting every other week for an hour-long session, and this is via Zoom, with a 30-minute phone check-in in the in-between weeks. So we're touching base every week, but we're not having full-length sessions every week. The check-ins are really supportive for the accountability and for the partnership, the development of the partnership between us. I'm not your leader, ever. A coach is not your leader, they are not your teacher. A coach is your creative partner. Think of yourself as like the CEO of your vision, and you're building a strong team to get you there. Just like the CEO of a company, and you have the head of marketing and you have the head of finance, you have a team that drives the ship. So a coach is on your team, and it's someone who holds you accountable to the vision, keeps the runway clear, and helps you really get there by taking you through each step of your creative process. It's not my creative process, it's each individual one. So we'll meet that way. We'll meet 1 hour-long session, 30-minute phone check-in. And another structure I offer, which works for other people who are really invested in doing the deep work in between sessions, is we'll meet once a month for 3 to 6 months for a 2-hour session at the top of the month, plus check-ins along the way a little bit. But that's kind of like a strategy session. It's like a really big chunk. It's almost like a virtual retreat that we're getting a lot of work done that they can apply for the rest of the month, for the following 3 weeks. And for all my packages, there's consistent email and phone support between each session. We're in touch. Like, I'm in relationship with you for the duration of our partnership.
What type of homework assignments do you give your clients?
That's a great question. I don't assign homework, but my clients will see their authentic next action to take out of each session. That's their work to do.
Ah, okay.
I'll suggest, for example, I have a monkey mind symptom tool, and I suggest look at this once a day, start to become familiar with how this sounds, what these symptoms are. For example, comparison, rationalization, scarcity. They can choose or not choose to review that. I always advise the more you review it and just familiarize yourself with it, the quicker you're going to catch your thoughts. But that happens over time anyway. Otherwise, there's no homework. They don't owe me anything. They see for themselves what it is they must do next. Because we've spent the session working towards creating that clarity for them to see. For example, in the example I gave you about the musician, when we saw that they were listening to a lot of fear conversations and didn't reach out to their family or friends about this show. And we started to dismantle where that was coming from, and we started to tell the truth of, does it mean you're a failed musician, or does it mean there's some more work to do? And they decided that their authentic next action was to schedule a show for a month later, give them time to practice, and then select, I think they selected like 12 friends to email but they ended up emailing, I think, 20 people. And that was their next step. And the results were massive. I don't want anyone to take huge steps. That scares our brain, that shuts us down. What I want you to do is take the next authentic step that's in front of you. Coaching is like walking down here's a metaphor, a stone path in the middle of a lake where there's a heavy fog. And as you take each step, the fog lifts on the next stone. But the fog hasn't lifted for the next 10 steps. Just the next one that you need to take is right there in front of you. And that's called staying present with your path. Because you don't know if the stone path will lead you that way or lead you this way. You just know that it's leading you forward. And that when you're ready to see that next step, it will be revealed.
I like that. So if I'm a screenwriter and you're not necessarily assigning me homework, but there's some type of check-in of accountability. So maybe are you seeing, not necessarily did I write 3 pages in the morning every day for the last month, but did I reach out to some people about a project? Or I don't know, how would that work? What's the difference between the homework and the accountability?
Oftentimes I will be, like I love when my clients send me their work or send me their portfolio if they're coming up to an interview or portfolio or anything like this. I'm not a critic and I'm not there to critique your work, but I'm a great accountability buddy for, I have a deadline. I owe Sasha my first 30 pages of my screenplay by next Thursday. And I'll check in, and it's not like, you're in trouble, you didn't send me. If people don't take their action step, it doesn't mean they failed. It means that there's something to be coached. And that's good information. Let's look at that. What got in the way of you sending me your pages? If you're a screenwriter, it means you love writing. It means that what you would love to do all day is write, is think of your story, is be in La La Land and put it on the page because you're good with words or you're gifted or you want to write. So if there's something getting in the way of what you love doing, that's great. There's a coaching topic there. Because ultimately we do what we do because we love it, because we're devoted to our craft. So if we're not taking action, it's not because we don't love it, it's because there's something coming up that deserves a little bit of our attention. So we can move it out of the way and get you back into the practice of what you love doing. And we don't always love what we do. Sometimes it's a labor, but that's the creative process, right?
What is black or white thinking?
A monkey mind symptom. A symptom of fear or worry. It's kind of linear thinking. It's either this or it's this.
And is that the same as either or?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's the same thing, okay. And what if some people say, well, this linear thinking has served me well. Like, I know, don't cross that street, don't do this, do that. Mm-hmm. I want to keep my linear thinking.
I love that question. Linear thinking is not bad, and we don't need to eradicate all linear thinking. For example, a conclusion that is true is when there's a red light, you stop your car at the red light. Let's not dismantle that one. Let's keep that one for traffic laws and safety. But maybe there's a linear thinking in an area of your life where we need to examine it and see if it's getting in the way of moving you forward. So again, it's black or white thinking to think all linear thinking is bad and we need to dismantle it. That's not true. And it's not bad. It's just it's kind of just bringing our focus to what is it that's coming up for you or getting in the way of you doing what you love to do authentically and with ease.
We spoke previously about author Julia Cameron, and we both said we love her writing. From her book, The Artist's Way, she writes, judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse. This happens in many ways. Beginning work is measured against the masterwork of other artists. Beginning work is exposed to premature criticism, shown to overly critical friends, etc. Why do artists fall prey to their own sort of negativity and judgment?
It's the fear of success, and the other side of the coin is the fear of failure. Those are the same fear. It's what's going to happen when I make it, and what will happen if I don't make it. So how we express that is through harsh analysis of our work, because we really want to know if it's good enough. And we really want to know if I should really be spending my time doing this. We really want to know, am I going to fail at this. When I say we, I mean like our brain really wants the answers. And so we try and squeeze water out of a rock by figuring it out, by overanalyzing. That's just what we do. We're human. What I always tell my artists, I say, the process of creation and the process of analysis are two different processes. Make sure you keep them separate. We cannot analyze as we create. I think that's what Julia Cameron speaks to when she says it's like artist suicide. We kill the dream before we even get it out of ourselves.
Yeah, another thing she said that I've brought up many times before in interviews was that it's easier to get sympathy and have people like you when you're a blocked artist. But if you're actually doing really well, that might be more off-putting to people. And so sometimes we take that on because we want people to like us.
That's an exquisite question.
So yeah,
that's
I
a
love it.
huge part of my own personal manifesto and application to this work. I think it goes into the struggling artist motif and this image we have. Then that is BS. Oh my gosh. It's so limiting to stay in our suffering because we think that is our muse. Yes, we create excellent work from our pain. Yes, agreed. I love Nirvana just as much as the next person. But the point is that is limiting. That artistic suffering is a myth. In fact, when we are able to thrive and heal and make it through the woods, and I mean really do the work, we actually get to know a more authentic version of ourselves. We were not born to suffer. We experience suffering as a human, and it's an important and integral part of our journey. Because trust me, once we are healed, we are able to thrive, we are in much more access to a higher level of creativity and artistry and expansion than we ever thought was possible when we were keeping ourselves in suffering. And it's okay if pain is our muse. We are not going to get through life painlessly. There will always be moments of pain, and we don't have to hold on to it. It's kind of like a grief process. We need to know when it's ready to be integrated and when it's ready to be let go. And a really important part of that is mastering the skill of surrender. And these are all skills that we can learn, and that what I train my clients in doing expertly, to move away from this suffering and this motif. And who cares how people see you? That's one of the first things. It is not about the external audience. We, the artists, tell the audience what to pay attention to. No matter what your art form is, you're telling them. They are not telling us.
And you think about like Adele, if you listen to her lyrics, that's about struggle. If you think about, let's say, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, that put her on the map, that was so, like, you would listen to the lyrics and go, oh, wow.
Yes.
Like, you felt the raw, like, anger and upset. So, you know, they're turning these stories of whatever, whether they're based on real experiences or not, into their, you know, putting it into their music, and it resonated with people worldwide.
Yes.
And yeah, same for, it could be men singing about the same issue. It doesn't have to just be
right.
men. But, right, I guess I meant more that I think sometimes people feel shame if they're almost doing well as an artist, because there is that idea that we're supposed to be struggling. You know, Van Gogh, no, he struggled. He didn't make it until pretty much after he was gone. So.
Yeah. I think that feeling shame for finding success in what we do kind of comes hand in hand with maturing. It's a maturity process too, you know, to really make it and to define what making it means for you. Not what the record label tells you, not what a Grammy winning, you know, musician tells you, not what the external tells you, but what does it mean to make it for you? And that looks different for everyone. I think to carry shame with that as you start to step into that just kind of requires a little bit of maturity along the way.
So it's okay to be like, you know what, I'm putting things out there and I'm okay with that, and I'm actually proud of myself.
Yeah. The audience that doesn't follow you, they're people can follow you for a time and fall off. There's always an audience for the work that you do. I think Lady Gaga is a great example. To speak personally, I was really not a big fan of hers when she hit the scene at first. I just didn't get it. And like much later in life, I've become an audience member for her. And I was like, okay, I get it. I was like, okay. And I like her more matured music. So I got on her bandwagon later on. I wasn't there in the beginning. That's okay. For every artist, that's okay. Your path will take you where you go, and you're going to meet the people you need to on your path when you need to meet them. And another example from my life is like I loved pop punk. I loved Fall Out Boy. And when I was like in middle school and high school, and when they started to get really big, I used to be like, oh, they sold out. They're sellouts. And as an older woman who has since worked in record labels and worked around musicians and been on tour with musicians, I realized, oh my God, this is so hard. They made it. Good for them. Wow, they did that. They didn't sell out. They kept going. And maybe I don't listen to their music current day. I'll revisit an old album from time to time. But the point is, who am I to hold an artist to some expectation that they can't grow in their craft or in their field or in themselves? Not every album they're going to put out is going to be amazing. Not everything you're going to produce. You might lose some audience members, but you're going to gain some too by just staying authentic to your path.
Right. I always use the U2 analogy,
Yeah.
A Beautiful Day and Gloria are two different times, it seems like, in their
Yeah.
lives, and two different emotions that you get from the song. But, you can stay on the path with them and realize, life isn't so bad, or you can stay in the sort of this activist, like, that there was a place for that
Totally.
music. It was intense and
Exactly.
moving.
I like to think of like Trent Reznor, because I'm the biggest Nine Inch Nails fan, and how like emotional and suffering is that music, right? And I mean, I've been there, and everyone's been there, right? But Trent Reznor, through the span of his career and his healing and his journey and what he's been through, and I like love Trent Reznor, so I like follow him. I mean, he's a film composer. He's an Oscar winner. He runs, don't quote me on this, but I think he runs like a nonprofit with his wife. Like he's expanded. And maybe the same Nine Inch Nails audience from the early 90s aren't there, but many of us are. And who's anyone to decide what his path and journey should look like? That's to me what the character arc of a healed artist is. And it's not in spite of the bad times or the suffering he had, it's because of that. He was so rooted in that, but that's not all there is to him and his music making.
If you were interested in storytelling, you may also like our new book, Story Questions, the sponsor of today's video. It's a story tool that offers you over 1,500 story questions that you can use as story prompts. It's packed with over 40 categories, so whether you are in the brainstorming stages, developing characters, dialogue, or rewriting, it can help you at every stage of the writing process. Think about this statement. Most powerful stories are just great answers to strong questions. We've linked up to story questions in the information section below. Now back to the interview. What if all we can do is think how scary a problem is? There's so much fear in it that it's almost untouchable. We can't deal with it.
Then we're not ready to face it, and that's okay. And there's some prep work to be done within ourselves, and that's okay. It's most important to know where we are, not to fight all our monsters at once.
And that goes back to sort of what you said, the intention. You want to set an intention for the coaching. And if I'm picking too many things.
Yeah. If there's something that a client really would like to do, but there's too much fear around it, that's not our step. Our work is to take steps that are super manageable and digestible and actionable, which builds the muscle for us to get to that big scary thing. Because as we walk closer to it, that mountain becomes more of a molehill.
How does an artist avoid negative thinking and spiraling? Things are usually very extreme to artists.
Mm-hmm.
And so when things are going great, then we don't need to worry about it. But when things inevitably shift, we can spiral down.
I'm like, how do any of us avoid that? Oh, man. It takes time and practice to be able to catch ourselves in the spiral. I mean, that's what partnering with a coach is mainly for, is to bring us away from that, the spiral. That's going to happen. I think the first step is acceptance. This is how the brain works. This is how humans are. And there will be times when something's going to set me off and I'm just going to spiral. I accept that. That's part of my experience. Okay, what can I do about it? I accept that I'm going to be in a state like this one day. And what we can do about it is start to become interested, more interested in what we actually want to be focused on, where we actually want to be putting our energy. Thinking requires energy. And when I like to think of energy, it's our most valuable asset. It's how we spend. How do you want to spend your energy? It's to spend, like money. You spend money, like time. What are you spending time on? What your energy? What thoughts are you putting energy into, and kind of feeding that downward spiral? So some of the tools that I offer support in pulling out of that, which takes, like I mentioned, acceptance of the human condition and takes surrender to what's true. And a question I love asking when a client is in this spiral, they become tortured. We become tortured in the negative downward spiral, is, have you had enough of that? And sometimes the answer is no. And like a child at nap time, we have to let it tantrum out. And that's okay too. Until it tantrums out. And when I mean that, back to what I was talking about with energy, until it loses energy and faces entropy, and it starts to just, you hit some version of rock bottom of that spiral. And then I go, have we had enough of that? And a client will say, yeah, this is so torturous. Then we can start working from there.
So sometimes you can't just, we're not going to say snap out of it, of course, but sometimes just accept that it's there and we just get it out of our system.
To be able to get to a level of being able to snap out of it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of practice. Just like a professional musician who can just get on stage and play perfectly their violin. There was a lot of work and practice that came behind that moment. So if the moment is to snap out of it and get back to work, and we haven't mastered that yet, that's because there's a lot of practice and preparation to do to get to that moment. So snapping out of it's not really important. That's just a level we can get to with this downward spiral. But letting it tantrum out and practicing the skills of, I once worked with an amazing fitness coach actually, and he was so deep. And one of the things he said, and I was getting back into shape, and he kept saying, like, whenever you notice you fell off the wagon, the only skill you're practicing is to get back on the wagon. He's like, I don't need you to lift heavier next week. I don't need you to run faster next week. Those aren't your gains right now. Your gain is, oh, I didn't go to the gym like I said I would. Go tomorrow. Oh, I had a bad meal and I'm like messing up my diet plan. Wake up in the morning and have your breakfast. He's like, the only skill I want you practicing is getting back on the horse. And I did that for a month. That was the only thing I focused on. And it gets you really far. That's what gets you out of a spiral, is realizing you don't need to be the best by next month. You don't need to produce your magnum opus next week. Sometimes you just need to remember to harness the skill of going, yeah, I got off track, or yeah, I went into that spiral of negative thoughts. Okay, time to get back on my path.
What is monkey mind?
Monkey mind it's a Buddhist term that relates to, it refers to the worry and doubt chatter, kind of the conversations that we have in our head. It's like a voice that swings from worry to doubt to worry to doubt. And it's the Buddhist term for our inner critic, our negativity bias, meaning we were born, all mammals are born with what's called a negativity bias, meaning our brain is wired to scan for danger, keeps us alive. And so the monkey mind is that voice, that conversation that says, maybe I shouldn't do it, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I don't have what it takes, your mom and dad won't approve, whatever, right? It's that voice. You should be an accountant, you went to school for this, you should be doing the shoulds, the worry, the doubt. That's monkey mind. It's just talking to us all day. And we want to know how to turn the dial down on that radio station. It's not going to go away. This is how we are designed, but we are able to manage it and turn the volume down on that and be like, okay, thanks for sharing. Anyway, what is it that I'm here to do? Oh, I'm really curious. I want to produce this film, low budget. I'm really curious who I could collaborate with, And as you step up to your goal, that monkey mind will kind of swing in. Again, because there's something valuable on the other end, and there's a risk between here and there. And monkey mind's like, oh, I shouldn't do it. You have a low budget. No one's going to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it's saying. That's what monkey mind is. And most 100% of the time, it's really not telling us anything valuable or worthy of our attention.
What if someone is creative but directionless in terms of career choice, but they know they want to put something creative out in the world? They just don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. Or is that not a viable problem?
That's a great problem to have.
Is it? Okay.
That's wonderful, because what you touched upon is that person's willingness to find out. That's going to be so exciting. What a path. What an amazing path. How exciting your life gets to be while you find it. It's within you, but you get to go find and express yourself in ways. You get to show yourself sides of yourself. You get to explore. No better way to harness that playful, creative, childlike curiosity than to try and find it.
How would you start mapping out a plan for this person? So maybe they've come to you, they say, I'm successful in one area of my life, but I just want to do creative stuff. I don't know where to start. I feel silly. It's not in my nature, but there's a calling.
I would want us to really build a foundation of what they value and how they want to be, what their life priorities are on a holistic level, and use those tools as a foundation of, you know, where am I starting from and who am I today and what are the things that I hold valuable and what gives me energy when I experience or witness it. And start there, follow your nose.
You know, and I've used two examples in our interview today of people who already are successful. And then there's others that they want to just live a gypsy life, and there's nothing wrong with that, and go from, you know, little sort of jobs to other jobs, and that's certainly a lifestyle choice, and there's nothing wrong. There's a lot less stress in some ways. But they know they want to put amazing art out into the world. So they want to be okay with the fact that maybe money isn't as important to them. So they're okay. Maybe they have, you know, money set aside for a coaching session, and they say, you know what, I don't need to be the next big thing, but I need to be creative every day. It's my therapy. And if I don't do it, I'm not a good person.
What would I say to them?
Yeah.
Well, what does amazing art look like to you? That would be an interesting place to look and to start. What does it even look like to you? Let's get really clear on what it is that you love and how do you define that. And if it's the ramblin' man gypsy and it's not, well, it means I have accolades and an Oscar and a huge paycheck. If it just means it touches the lives of whoever experiences it, well, now we know a little bit more about what you're here to do. And for the people who are on a different type of ambitious road of, you know, I really believe in this, and I really want this to be seen by as many people as possible. What does that even mean? And where is the value in that? It's about really looking deeply at each desire. Where is it coming from within you? Because our vision is never what we're getting. That's not what a vision is. A vision is what we're here to contribute. I have a lot of clients come to me being like, okay, my vision is to win an Oscar by 35 and have a house in the hills and have like 4 houses around globe. Like, that's cool. Don't we all love that? But I'm like, what? That's not your vision. Your vision is what you're here to contribute. Wholly. Making an authentic connection. That's so much more interesting, and it's so much more foundational. I was just speaking to a new client, and we were talking about this, and he's a musician trying to find his specific path in music. And one of the things he loves about performing, for example, is when people tell him how good his music is and how good it sounds. And he was shaming himself, being like, oh, it's an ego thing. It gives me an ego boost. But to separate from that, again, the shame voice, that monkey mind, that you shouldn't feel good from external validation. External validation is important. It feels good. And more importantly than that, it signals connection. It means I did something that someone connected to and added value to their life. And intrinsically that added value to my life, like a boomerang. So that's what we're trying to get to, truly.
Yeah, I guess we've been trained that, ego and then narcissism is such a damaging thing, and I guess there's levels of it,
Yeah, everything's on a spectrum.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I know that those are very popular words right now, especially narcissism in the last few years. But you any profession where you're putting yourself out there, sports, politics, the arts, there's going to be a level of some of that, and to deny it, I think, is also harmful.
Oh, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just own it. I mean,
Yeah.
like some of these rock singers, they own that, and the audience goes, okay, you're this, proud lion prancing on the stage, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we need to see that. We need a level of that. I want to be a rock star when I grow up. Yeah. I love seeing Karen O perform from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I love seeing them live. She's such a rock star. And she is prancing like a hungry lion on stage. And she is connecting with her audience. And it's an art. It is exquisite to see. It is so exquisite to see her embody this. And maybe people in her life have called her narcissistic. And maybe people think she's full of ego. I don't know. I have no idea what her reputation is. But the truth is, she's providing a service.
Sure. It's a performance.
It's a performance. It's a service. I'm a fan. It serves my soul. I go home after a Yeah 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 show and I pick up my guitar like I'm 15 again. And I'm like, how do we play that? And what a connection. And I've never met her, and I hope I meet her one day. But do you see how much of a service she is to us? Right. We all have the ability to embody that at any level and in any way. And why wouldn't we?
Is planning something that artists hate to do? It sounds very linear and structured, and I can see a lot of artists maybe not wanting to do that, but maybe I'm wrong.
In my experience with artists, as soon as they become very clear in our session and very clear of what the next step is or what they want to do, and when I say clear, I mean they have dismantled from their fear brain, they have told the truth, they've gone through these processes. When they're clear on what it is they want to do, they can't wait to plan that next step, because it's energizing, because we love to be driven forward. We love movement, we the humans. And so yeah, once we're really clear, putting the plan together is like the fun part, but it can be very taxing when we are muddied down with doubt.
So maybe that's a fallacy then, that artists aren't structured and don't plan. That's this.
Oh man. I think what is also becoming popular in our modern language right now is this idea of being neurodivergent. And I myself have ADHD and have had it my whole life, and just thought I was stupid in school. I'm not stupid at all, but in that structure, I did not perform very well. I needed a different structure. Many people do. Most creatives and artists do. It's really, structure is so essential and so important and so soothing for our linear brain, but we get to create our own structure. It doesn't need to look like it does in a corporate office or in a school or academic system or in the structures that are currently in place, is all I'm trying to say. For some people that works, and that must feel exquisite to work within a system that's so known. And for many of us, like I said, it made me think I was stupid, or it was an experience that didn't support who I really am. And it took a lot of work, but I found out how to structure my days, how to structure my work, how to move myself forward. Entrepreneurs are the same way, not just art. Well, entrepreneurship is a type of art, but entrepreneurship. How do we move this forward? How do we get this off the ground? Structure is valuable, but it does not need to look like what we're used to. And it does not need to look like what's currently in existence. Most often, we're creating our own structure.
So with the ADHD, did you find yourself getting bored and then tuning out?
Yes, so often. I would understand the concept very quickly, and then I didn't want to and especially when things aren't naturally interesting to me. For example, I hate being on the computer for too long, sending emails, whatever, writing up proposals, It takes a lot of energy for me. And I have to actually kind of set the stage to step into computer work. And I've had to structure that for myself so I can get it done and get my emails to my clients and I love talking. I love conversation. I love when I'm in a client session, like I am nowhere else in this world. I'm so hyper-focused as ADHD often is. There's nothing wrong with being that way, you know? It's just working with it. And most of my clients have ADD or ADHD diagnosed, or they pretty much have a hunch at this point. And it's liberating. It's like, oh yeah, we can work with this. And they create their own structure and they thrive in their own structures. And sometimes they reevaluate their structure and be like, oh, this isn't working for me anymore. Oh, that's so empowering. It's so freeing.
And so do they know that if they have to do certain, quote, housekeeping tasks when it comes to their art or their business, that they do it maybe more at night or more in the morning? Do they know what time works better for them, or no, then that's being too rigid?
It's a lot of trial and error. It's really just first, I'm always coming back to this, but that first step of just acceptance and integration of like, okay, this is the brain that I'm working with. This is what it's doing. Observation without judgment. Okay, this is what's happening. For me, like observing my brain with judgment was like, oh, I must be stupid because I don't get this. That's judgment. But to observe and be like, oh, I hate computer time. So let me create structure around that. And it really works for me. It's going to look different for every person. And oftentimes people who are neurodivergent or with ADHD really are able to clearly see what it is they want to put their energy into. And for example, web design. I have a photographer who just launched her website, for example, and she's not a web designer. She has ADHD and she does not want to put time into doing an online course or figuring it out. She kind of downloaded Squarespace and realized, like, went to a cafe one day to put some work into it and was like, this is hard. And had some budget and spent it on a web designer and got that thing launched in a week. So it's really knowing yourself, really understanding your flow of energy and where it's best spent, and then trial and error your way through each circumstance.
How do you help someone overcome creative blocks?
Oh, creative blocks are just part of our process. I like Julia Cameron talks about this too in her book, The Artist's Way, and I love it. It's just, we don't need to overcome anything. It's just part of it. We need to be with it. It's like, how do we be in relationship to each part of our process and really get to know it? Are you blocked, or is there a call to rest right now? How do we want to frame it? Because what is it really?
So in some ways, by saying we're overcoming creative blocks, that makes it sound like there's something wrong with us.
Yes. And it's very natural. We don't always want to work. Like, we don't always want to, we're not always called to the light. Like, sometimes we want to sit and watch TV all week. Like, sometimes, and why not? Right? Why not? Is it a block, or are you being called to rest right now?
Right, yeah, so many things, especially pre sort of social media, I would do just go to a bookstore, go to a thrift shop, and just that reset my brain.
Yeah.
And it seems like less and less we're doing that now because so much of life is online.
Yes.
And I can find so many cool things on Etsy that could be at a thrift store. Nothing against Etsy, I love looking at it.
Yeah,
but there was something about being in the store, this tactile experience, and I feel like we've lost a lot of that.
That's beautiful that you see that, though, because that's part of your process.
That is,
and
okay,
so to become aware of your process, and to even say that to me right now, I'm like, yeah, that's beautiful and valid. And maybe one day next week you're going to be like trying to squeeze water out of a rock, and you're like, this isn't working, and you realize that there's a vintage store down the street, and you go and you touch old things, and maybe you're tactile, and you just play. And before I came here, I dropped into Huntington Gardens because it's one of my favorite places in LA. And I'm such a nature girl. And I just like to touch flowers. And there was geranium leaves, and I was smelling and I was just like I probably looked so weird. I was like in the rose garden, right? And you listen to the water for a minute and it reset me. And I came here because I knew I had a great conversation to have today, and it's important to me. But to prepare for that wasn't to drill down on my notes. It was to go to the garden. The idea of things being hard as a gratifying experience once we make it through them. I've really started to become disenchanted by this. And I really love this coach and author, Glennon Doyle. I think she's putting some great things in the world. And she has a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things. And I listen to that sometimes. But really recently, I've been going, but why? Why? And I think that there is a relationship to that word that maybe I need to examine more. But what I've come to is I think we like complicated things. Because when we're doing hard things, it kind of gives me this feeling of like white knuckling your way through something and kind of spending a lot of energy and just like, oh, this is really hard, but and almost like when you get out of a workout and you're just sweating and your breath, yeah, hard is hard, but then complicated is kind of energizing, right? When we asked about do artists like planning? Yeah, there can be really complicated plans, but it makes me think of the Toxic music video, Britney Spears, when she has all the red lines going and she has to do this like complicated dance move, right? Like through the web of laser beams. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of fun. It's like Mission Impossible a little bit, right? It's like, okay, it's really complicated, but we have what it takes. And let's put this plan together and navigate it perfectly. Like that's interesting. That lights your brain up. That's like energizing. But hard to me is like, why? Why? We should be able to do it with ease and grace. So I'm still in play with these words, but I'm kind of starting to, I have a little bit of a punk rock flair, and I'm kind of starting to reject hard. I don't want to do hard thing. I'll do the complicated thing. I'll figure stuff out and then I'll apply it. So I just wanted to play with that in this space and just, I don't have a conclusion there. I just kind of like, why are we so addicted to the hard thing?
So we like puzzles, but I don't necessarily want to reinstall my own headlights. That might be too hard for me.
Yeah.
But and I would struggle with that. But if someone gave me a cool puzzle, then that might be more of a challenge for my brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
The headlight thing is such a great example, because in my mind I'm like, I could, I don't want to sit there and figure out how to install a new headlight in my car. I'm not a car person. Like, I don't want to put energy into learning the skill. But I can figure out how to make a cool $500 over here real quick and hire someone to do it for me. I can do that. I can spend a little less energy and time figuring that out. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't need to have every single skill under our belt. It's okay. We can know what we're good at and practice those for a time.
Why do so many creatives get in the habit of starting and stopping projects?
Oh, it's just the overtaking of the fear. Fear's coming up. And it's masked in, I don't know what to do. It's masked by, I'm not sure. It's masked by, what's the point? I don't have enough time, energy, resources, money, da-da-da-da-da. But all of that is rooted in just the fear. Procrastination is also rooted in fear. The fear of getting started on something. Because we're keeping our eye on the end. And we're thinking way too far in advance. And that's really scary, to be looking that far in advance and not know how to get there. So there's a little bit of shutdown going on when that happens.
What if we get bored of what we start, though? Is that really a symptom of boredom? Or is that the fear again?
I think it's the fear again. There's nothing wrong with boredom. We're not used to it anymore with our internet conditioning and our everything's immediate. It's really uncomfortable to sit with boredom now. And it's uncomfortable to sit with uncertainty. All these things are uncomfortable. And I was listening to another great podcast where they talk about like, we are so prone to comfort now because our lives are so comfortable now. I mean, think about how comfortable our lives are, that any amount of discomfort we are really not primed for. I think comfort was developed in human beings at a certain point as a survival mechanism. And I don't know when. I'm not a historian, but it isn't really natural to us. We've just taken it to the next level with our cars and our food delivery and our on-demand everything. And I mean, we live in such a, counterintuitive society. We do. So any amount of discomfort, whether we want to call it boredom or uncertainty or, anticipation, can shut us down really quickly.
Yeah, I was reading something about a lot of tech startups and people that live in the Bay Area, and they might be making incredible money, but that they were so lonely because they had every delivery service at their disposal and they didn't have to leave their Bay Area apartment.
Yes.
And I guess you would never think about that when you're thinking of, oh, I just can't wait to get to this level. And
yes.
that their lives were literally, dry cleaning could be picked up and delivered, food delivery, everything.
Totally.
They were working from home.
You see the same problem in dating culture too. It's really sad with the apps and the online and the way we're meeting people now, and no one's talking to each other in person anymore. And you go through a breakup, it's on to the next, next person's right around the corner. We don't go deeper into ourselves. Back to that discomfort comes up. You're with someone who maybe you're compatible with, and we're mirrors for each other. Maybe something comes up in you that you haven't faced yet, or you don't want to see, or you feel jealous and you think they're the problem. No, they're the mirror for your problems. And if you're in a healthy relationship, you can work through that. But we don't want to go deep anymore. We don't want to let it be our problem. It's his problem. He wasn't right for me. But why? Unless it's, of course, an abusive or toxic situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about how easy it is to order a partner online as much as you can just order lunch online. It's really limiting in a lot of ways.
How do you differentiate between achievable goals and impossible goals? Let's say I'm someone that's a singer or a filmmaker and I want to win a Grammy or an Emmy by a certain point in my life, maybe 10 years down the line. And I'm coming to you and I want to work on this.
Yes. Achievable goals are what we have complete control over. And impossible goals are things we have no control over. I want to win a Grammy, or I want Barbara to say yes to my marriage proposal, or whatever. You can't control that person, and you can't control the Grammy committee. Maybe you can, right? We know how it really works in the system. But I'm trying to say anything that is outside of us is outside of our control and is not worth that spend of energy of trying to control it. What we can control is how we show up to our work and how we stay in our process and how we stay centered on what we value about what we do and what we're putting out in the world. I really am a big believer in the if you build it, they will come model. If you build it, they will come. They can be the right audience. They can be the right opportunities. They can be the awards and the recognition for what you're doing. But you need to build it. That's on you. Yeah. You don't need to figure out the best strategy to get the Grammy, because why? How? How is that possible? You have no control over it. What you can do, what you can control, is the mindset and the attitude and the drive and the passion that you bring to what it is you're here to do. And that's so much more worth the spend.
Is that the same thing as what people term law of attraction? Because you're putting out this energy, these thoughts that you want something?
Yes, I think that's the same thing as law of attraction, how you value yourself and how you define your value and how deep you can see your own worth, your own beauty, and your ability to contribute is how others are going to recognize you. And those who don't are at a different part of their journey. Not better or less than, but those who don't recognize you are not for you. And the worst thing in the world is to think that we could be for everyone. Impossible. And a little sad. No, you're for you, and your right people will find you.
So just as in dating, we're not for everyone, but in the art world or in the music or film, whatever, what we are going to be putting out is not for everybody. In fact, some people may be violently turned off by it.
Totally. But I would say even in the art world, if people are violently turned off by what you're putting out there, you have made such a beautiful impact because your art evoked an emotion. It evoked a reaction. It evoked something in that person. and that worked. It might not have been the outcome you wanted. Like, I wanted everyone to think this was beautiful. But once your art leaves you, it is not you. It does not belong to you. I'm also a big believer in separating art from the artist. In most cases, I think this can be case by case, of course. But once it leaves you, it is not yours. It is for the world. And it always has been for the world. It came through you. It has your mark on it. You're the producer. But how someone will digest that and take that, the messages they'll get from it, what their takeaway is not your business.
So it's open source. It's for other people to pick apart and say.
Absolutely. Creative energy is open source. We are all creators, inherently.
What if an artist comes to you and is frustrated that they're underpaid? Maybe they know what their intention is in terms of the art that they want to put out there, the message, but they feel like their work is not valued monetarily.
That's a really great question, because it's really important to make a distinction in your creative process between who you're creating for. Is it yourself or your audience? Because when you're creating for an audience, there's a collaboration at play there. And it's not entirely for you. And that's okay. And when you're creating for yourself and you're really digging deep and getting this message out, maybe it will touch one or two people, hopefully more, but maybe that's the reach it has. But you created it from your soul and for yourself. And those are two separate but parallel processes. And both can exist in your process. You can want to be a multi-millionaire artist, whatever your medium is, yet also have your private life as an artist. Not everything is for the market, and not everything is for you. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, you just actually triggered I think Gene Simmons from Kiss, he's an artist. He does paintings and things like that. And then he's Gene Simmons from Kiss, you know.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
Right. So when we put something out in the world that we want an audience to look at, they determine the value? They determine the worth in the marketplace?
The audience? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot that goes into determining value. I can speak to, for example, the music business. I worked years at record labels and at different areas of the music business, and there's a lot of detail that goes into determining the value. And it's gotten really muddy with streaming, and it's gotten really contentious with obviously AI, and there's a lot of shifts. But throughout the history of music, there's always been shifts in technology and shifts in time. But
Napster.
Exactly. LimeWire, right? But, a record label will tell you what it's worth based off of SoundScan or media base, based off of radio plays, based off of their hard numbers. But I don't think that value can just be determined by one thing. I mean, you're choosing when you sign to a record label, for example, we're just using this example, to participate in their measurement of value and success. That's a choice you make as an artist. There are many different ways to make. Then you have cases like Chance the Rapper, who's anti-label and who's incredibly popular and incredibly, he's professionally successful. And he chose a different path than that. He wanted more creative control and financial control over his art. There's no right or wrong choice, but in my opinion, Chance the Rapper chose his value. Chose to determine what that was, built his team in a different way. I don't have all the details on his path, but I do admire that, because artists who sign to a label and think all their dreams are going to come true, perhaps, but more often than not, it's the dreams of the label and the marketplace that are coming true.
I was reading one story about a young artist who her landlord let her know she had been dropped by her label because the label was paying her rent. And so, but she was able to turn it around. But
whoa,
yeah, and I thought, wow, that's how crazy is that? Yeah.
And just to this point, most people think that you have to go mainstream to be successful, and if you stay independent or stay indie, then you kind of can't really go for it. You won't be supported, and that's just such a myth. That's so not true. It's going to be a different path, and it will be difficult to see because you don't see it in the mainstream, and you might not always see it celebrated. But the the agenda of the organization or the industry does not dictate what good art is. It's just a means of promoting art. But good art does not just come from the Hollywood machine.
What's wrong with an artist thinking they can't make money?
What's wrong with that thought? It's not true. So it's kind of like listening to a lie about yourself, you know? Like the example of, I didn't perform well on tests in school because of my ADHD, so I just thought I was stupid. I found my journals from middle school and I was reading them and I was like, gosh, that's so mean. I'm not stupid. I'm not a strict academic either, but that's just not where I gather my information from, and that's fine. So for an artist to believe they can't make money, is that what is kind of just believing something that's not true. And that's limiting, and that holds us down. So, it's worth challenging that thought.
What if an artist thinks they have $1 million project or product? These sort of like grandiose ideas about what their thing is worth, their project, their album, their film. And then life shows them, well, it's worth something, people will pay, but not what you think.
Well, you really nailed it with the word grandiosity. We got a coach on that. Grandiosity is an expression from the ego. And it's not really, as we see in this case, of someone who spends $1 million budget of their own, their own money on a movie, and the market took it for $1,000 and made $1,000. That was just an expensive lesson, is what that is. And to detach from the grandiosity and to attach to reality and to double check your work and really put a lot more energy into what it is you're creating, and back to that, who's the market? Am I creating this for myself? Am I creating this for the audience? What is the audience for this? How are they spent? For example, so grandiosity in itself is a form of lying that we tell ourselves to feel okay about what it is we want to do.
But don't we, in some sense, as artists, performers, whatever it is, we need that, even tech, startup people, because if we're too meek, and we think, oh, it's not very good, do you want to look at it? It's not, that's its own poison right there.
Totally. Grandiosity is really valuable as part of the performance.
Yeah, we need that.
We need it in the performance, of course.
Like peacocks.
But the performance, yes, the performance. When does a peacock show their feathers? When they're performing for their mate. They are not showing their feathers when they're about to go eat or going to the roost for the night, right? When do we show our feathers? When do we tap into our grandiosity? It's when we're pitching, performing. But during the planning stages, the setup, during the research, during the deep dive into the story, whatever it is, I don't think grandiosity has a place there.
And maybe that can actually hurt things.
Yeah, I think believing in your project has to be present. I think really just believing and having the willpower. But if you really believe in something, like truly believe in it, you're willing to embrace the truth about it. Back to love and relationships. If you really love someone and they show you a side of themselves that's flawed or immature or traumatized, that is the truth about them. And you're willing to see them at that level and love them. And you don't just love them for their grandiosity, for how they dress, for how they do in public spaces, for the restaurants they know. You love them for who they are. And so pattern that onto a creative project. It's the same thing. You have to be willing to see it, to really love it.
What other steps can artists take to earn the money they deserve?
That is such a loaded question. What does it mean, money they deserve? What is it that they deserve? I think to answer that, because a lot of what I talk about with my clients is, how do I make money? How do I make this work? How can this support me? It goes back to like really looking at the truth of what is the lifestyle or the essence that I want to support financially, and choosing to use your art or your craft as your supportive means, your financial means collaborating with the audience. That's what gives you the money. That's what makes it happen. Integrating that into the vision of fulfilling what it is necessary in the artistic marketplace. And how are you going to come up with a solution to fill that hole, fill it in? And balancing that with your own creative process so you're creatively fed within and outside. And understanding numbers, understanding your financial situation, maybe working with someone who is a financier or a financial planner to keep you on track if that's not a skill set that you're very expert in. And I think that comes with taking personal responsibility and maturing and not living under the guise or the grandiosity or the dream of like, one day I'll make it big and like one day it'll happen and someone's going to discover me. Again, putting your control outside of yourself. And, you know, someone will discover me if I just keep waitressing at this, you know, restaurant in LA, or if I just put my stuff up on YouTube. Someone might discover you, but that can't be your strategy. We got to have a little more control over our strategy. So it's getting serious about it.
What is creative burnout and how does someone know that they have it?
It's kind of like a lack of willingness at a certain point. It can get there. You don't even want to, you know, there's just no more drive left. Your tank is empty. And that's a complete message from your body, mind, and soul to recover and rest and slow. And you can even firing on all cylinders, going on the biggest world tour with your band and experience burnout. And you are being called to come within and recover and rest and slow. There's so much to do when we're triggered with burnout. And the to-do is not external output. It's not all about output. It's putting in too. Maybe that's a spa day. Maybe it's calling people that you love and having their reassurance. Maybe it's sleeping a lot, right? What is it? I'm dancing around the idea of self-care, but like practically speaking, it's go take care of yourself. Go fill your tank up and find a way to bring balance when you step back to your craft or whatever project you're on, so you can go the distance without meeting yourself at rock bottom again at that burnout stage.
This is slightly off topic, but do most musicians or bands actually dread going on tour just because it's so taxing?
Some really live for the road. You know, some people, it's such that's more, to me, that's more a question of just the person, the human, than it is the type of art they're up to. Some people just live for the road. Other people would rather sacrifice a successful music career than have to be on the road again. It's such a spectrum of preferences.
So maybe depending on where they are in their life, if they're young and wild, then maybe it's fun or something, and then a little older and they have family waiting for them. Okay.
And I think a lot of people who are going for the big dream of being a very successful musician feel like they need to pay their dues on the road. I don't really believe in the idea of paying dues in general. Like, I believe in the idea of hard, intentional work and practice and being about your work, but you don't necessarily need to follow in the footsteps of other people just to prove that you're worth it. You're inherently worthy.
What are the most common ways artists end up sabotaging themselves?
Yeah. Really believing the negative stories about themselves. They're not worth it. Why try? Really like relegating themselves to those stories. Living in their trauma. This is kind of beyond artistry and just humans. Refusing to grow, most often because we don't believe we're worth it or that it could be possible. So kind of playing with despair, embodying despair in a way. And it shows up in different ways and it sounds different to all of us. But if there is despair present, we're really stepping off path and failing ourselves.
What about when an artist reaches what's perceived as dream success? How do they end up sabotaging themselves? Because we always hear about in the beginning a lot of times. No one ever thinks anybody at the top of the mountain could have any problems.
Yeah, I think I've seen it with people at the top and the things they thought they needed to sacrifice to get there. And there's a saying of it's lonely at the top. And for many people, it's lonely at the top. It's a very isolating experience, and often by choice. Not to pour energy into your family members, into your relationships, into your kids if you have them, into your body. So many people at the top still have eating disorders. So many people at the top. I worked for a person who, didn't go to their own sister's funeral. Their sister had a freak accident, and the family was disowning them, and they just believed that they had to. It's just fear at the end of the day. So like I said, the other side of the coin of fear of failure is the fear of success. Is you get there and you're at the top and you're just like trapped in a cage a little bit. So there's so many ways that we can get off path. There's so, being at the top, whatever that means something different to everybody. We can still get in our own way.
How does an artist maintain creativity over the long term?
Oh gosh, we just have to, this is such a great question because I kind of tapped into it myself recently. We have to be able to play. Like, we have to play. We have to remain childlike in some ways. We have to. It's a requirement for all human beings. Like, we have to tap in. The healthiest old people I know, 70s and up, are such childlike spirits. They're so youthful. Youth is wasted on the young, whatever. We all have this. We can tap into this energy anytime. We have to play. Julia Cameron talks about artist dates. It's a play date. Take yourself on a play date. Go to a toy store. Go to an adult toy store, whatever that means to you. Like,
sure.
We have to really maintain that consistently, always. And we have to find what our flavor of play means for us.
Yeah, even some of these entrepreneurs, like if you watch interviews with Steve Woz, he's like a kid. He wants to have fun.
Yeah.
And he talks in a playful sort of way. And I think, yeah, you do need that.
Yeah, I was once sitting in on a session for the composer I was assisting in a director session. So he was showing a first take of the music and they were playing back the film. And these two adult men in their late 50s were being such little boys on a playground is how I saw them. Like, they were just like, oh, what happens after we do that? Oh, it's gonna sound like doo-doo-doo. And the other guy was like, what if it goes doo-doo? And like, they were like, think about kids who are like playing a game on a playground and they're like, and then after we touch the monkey bars, we're then gonna go to the slide. And the kids like, well, what happens next? Like, you're playful and you find the people to play with. Some people don't wanna play with you. Some people don't understand your language. Go use your language, go find the people who hear that and who can banter back with it. Like, to harness that play is like really special.
Do you provide feedback or critique on creative work? I know you say sometimes with accountability, they'll turn things into you to show you their work.
Not at all, but I provide guidance towards what they need to see. So sometimes an artist will send me their portfolio and we'll look together at where it needs to be more representational of their body of work, of their artistic voice. It's kind of more the internal job that I'm guiding them toward. And to give a better sense, we'll just use a portfolio as an example of who they are as an artist, and perhaps that's including an artist statement with that, of what pieces maybe shouldn't be included at this time for this particular submission. So I'm not going to ever speak to someone's body of art because I'm not a professional in that field. And sometimes it's going and finding a mentor in that specific field is the answer for that. And we'll find that, but I will guide my clients towards their answers so they're really clear on what it is they need to do with this piece of work, whether it's go back to the recording studio and do more takes of a song, or whether it's including more of your personal work into your portfolio to give a holistic sense of your vision. Whatever it is, they'll see their answer.
I have a quote here from Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and she wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, along with other books. Writing, real writing, should leave a small, sweet bruise somewhere on the writer and on the reader.
Yeah. Impact, yeah, right? When you experience it, it never really should leave you. I hate using the word should, but in this sentence, it fits. When you experience it and it doesn't leave you, that's the impact, that's the bruise. And as an artist, when you experience it coming through you or experience the creation of it, it should never leave you. That's why there's no point looking back at your body of work and judging it and saying, oh, I was such a bad artist 10 years ago. No. Why? It brought you here. And as someone experiencing that, it's like, oh, I don't currently listen to Fall Out Boy, but God, I was so passionate when I was 14. And I memorized every word, and I can still sing it. And it guided me. It guided me. I was like, I gotta work in music. I gotta be around people who think like this. And it put me on my path. So yes, leave a bruise and receive a bruise.
You know what? I'll have to go back and listen. It's been, I'm not even
like,
sure.
I don't know why that was the one that like,
No.
I used to like do my math homework and be like, oh.
No, but I was into Duran Duran back in the day, and everyone was like, they look like women, they wear makeup, they're weird.
Ugh.
You know, the whole 80s, like, you know, new wave era.
Yeah.
And I did a little project, and I named something that was based on Duran Duran. The teacher said, don't do that. She's like, I used to like the Monkees, and I regret, and she's like, I was in love with Davy Jones and the Monkees. I regret ever doing something, and you're gonna look back on it years from now and feel shame about it.
Whoa.
So I can...
Whoa, that's someone's monkey mind coming at you.
I guess so, and literally, yeah. But even something from way long ago that we don't still listen to the music, I'm not like a huge Duran Duran fan now, but it had a huge impact on me.
Yes.
So I get it.
I have something to say to that.
Oh, you do? Okay, great.
My ideal client, my own preference, are described as weirdos with swagger.
I like that. That's
great.
great.
You know, like, you gotta be a little bit weird to get my attention, just a little bit. And with swagger, meaning own it. You know, it is what it is, and it's probably really cool. Again, we're not trying to be seen by everyone in the world. We're trying to be seen by the right people. Real, recognized, real kind of moment. You know? This was in the Freddie Mercury biopic, but he gets up on stage and sings his first song, and he's a total rock star. No one gets it. What year is it? 50s, 60s, late 50s, and he walks off stage, but I think it's like Brian May is like, yeah, that's it. You got it. Let's join a band. You know, it takes one person sometimes. So be a weirdo. Be a weirdo. Have swagger. Own it. Believe in it.